On the afternoon of March 14, 2024, Officer Daniel Harper from the Harris County Sheriff's Office in Texas conducted what initially appeared to be a routine traffic stop on a driver named Michael Carter. The reason for the stop was simple. Officer Harper believed that the vehicle's rear window tint was darker than what Texas law allows. What began as a standard non-criminal traffic stop quickly turned into a tense roadside encounter that was ultimately captured on body-worn camera footage. As Officer Harper approached the vehicle, he asked Mr. Carter to roll down his rear window so he could clearly see inside the back seat area. Mr. Carter questioned the request, asking whether he was legally required to lower the back window. The officer responded that limited visibility posed a potential safety concern and that he needed to ensure no one else was inside the vehicle. Despite the explanation, Carter insisted there was nobody in the back and seemed hesitant to comply with the request. Moments later, Officer Harper instructed Carter to step out of the vehicle. Carter complied, but immediately began asking questions about why he was being ordered out of the car. Once outside, Officer Harper informed him that he intended to conduct a brief pat-down for weapons due to safety concerns stemming from the inability to see into the rear of the vehicle. Carter verbally objected, stating that he did not consent to any searches and repeatedly questioned how the window tint justified a frisk. Despite Carter's objections, Officer Harper continued issuing commands, instructing him to turn around and place his hands behind his back. Carter refused to comply with the pat-down request, which caused the officer to call for backup assistance. A second deputy arrived on scene shortly afterward and helped detain Carter in handcuffs while the officers continued their investigation. Texas law does regulate vehicle window tint levels and establishes minimum visible light transmission percentages for different windows on passenger vehicles. Violating these restrictions is typically classified as a non-moving traffic infraction rather than a criminal offense, meaning the usual outcome is a citation rather than an arrest. However, during an investigative detention, officers are permitted to take reasonable steps to ensure their safety. Temporarily using handcuffs during a traffic stop does not automatically transform the detention into a formal arrest under federal constitutional standards, particularly if the officer believes there may be a potential threat. In this case, Carter's continued refusal to follow instructions, including declining to roll down the window and resisting the frisk request, contributed to the officer's decision to restrain him while verifying the tint violation. Carter argued that he believed the stop itself was unjustified and therefore felt he was not obligated to comply with further instructions. The officers disagreed and explained that disputes about the legality of the stop are typically resolved later through the court system rather than roadside debate. After running Carter's information and testing the window tint, Officer Harper issued a written citation for excessive tint on both the rear and front windows. Carter was then released from handcuffs and allowed to leave the scene without further charges. While the initial stop was based on a suspected traffic violation that officers are authorized to investigate, critics later questioned whether the situation escalated unnecessarily, given that the underlying issue was a minor equipment infraction. At the same time, Carter's refusal to comply with certain instructions likely contributed to the prolonged detention and heightened tension during the encounter. Incidents like this highlight how quickly routine traffic stops can intensify when misunderstandings about legal rights and officer authority arise on both sides of an interaction. What begins as a minor roadside enforcement action can evolve into a far more serious confrontation when communication breaks down and cooperation becomes